October 2024. Those are probably would said October is yet to be over. A whole lot of concern. 10 months down the line in the country and the state of the nations, how has the country fared under the presidency of Tinubu-led administration? A whole lot of concern. Looking forward for the next 2 months to go for 2024 to be over. In advance, congratulations to all Nigerians. But tonight, there are a whole lot of concern about how we can move forward. So we'll try as much as possible to revisit the approved creation of the Federal Ministry of Regional Development to oversee all the Regional Development Commission, such as the Niger Delta Development Commission, the Northwest Development Commission, the Southwest Development Commission, and the Northeast Development Commission. Every senator and every member of the House of Representatives who voted to create this regional development in Nigeria claim that it is a game changer that will radically transform the geopolitical zone concerned. But how true is this fact? Is it another unaccountable federal agency that will induce the squandering of public funds and do little to support regional development? These are the valid questions other many Nigerians are raising over these issues. But every president who have signed into law a bill to establish Regional Development Commission to foster another opportunity looks out for patronage of politics and all the types of corruptions and abuse of entrusted power. Yet none of these has stopped the proliferation of regional development commissions in Nigeria. Tonight on the program, we'll look at all of those concerned, the policies of the president, the economic indicators, when you look at the fact that there are a whole lot of tough policies the president has taken, and he has called on Nigerians to size patient. We'll try as much as possible to ensure how far this policy has gone. Tonight, a chieftain of People's Democratic Party, Edwin Adai, is joining us live on the program to give us a perspective to this issue. Thanks so much, Honorable, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's really been a while, and those are probably will say welcome back to the show and here on Global TV. But your party, I mean, before we delve into these issues, your party has been on the news, and sometimes not really what probably was good, that those that feels that the leading opposition party like PDP that has been in power for many years in this country ought to be, a stronger and unified party. Has your party moved ahead? What is the concern right now within your party?
Well, you see, the game of politics, number one is ideologically driven. Number two is interest driven. Before every other thing can align into the whole activities or program of the political party in the larger context. What you have seen in the People's Democratic Party is absolutely nothing different from what is peculiar with the inherent nature of political parties and the game that is inherent in the system. It's a systemic thing. When they talk about democracy, if you remember, democracy from the context of its definition, it is a majoritarian government. What that means is that there will always be a minority. And therefore, when the majority say, okay, this is the philosophies or the principles of the program of the project we want to follow, as long as there is a majority consensus, the minority who apparently will be in an opposition voice, even though they are not in alignment with the bigger picture where the majority people are going, they have to align. Not because they are in conformity, but because it is the nature of democracy, it is the nature of politics. So, to answer your question, my political party, the People's Democratic Party, is also not different from it. What you see is people with different ideology, different philosophy, different values, different interests. And therefore, the platform, because it's democratically in view, it must give them the opportunity to express their grievances or to express the pathway they feel is good for the party.
So you feel
it's a process.
So all these expressions not tearing your party apart?
No, it's not tearing the party.
But that those that feels people will leave the party and 2027 ahead of the corner?
It is the beauty of what we call political party activism or activities, you don't expect everybody in a political party to have the same view or the same opinion or the same interest. And therefore, that is where we have a room for negotiation. And I can tell you for a fact that we have two major committees that had already been set up by the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party. There is a reconciliation committee and there is a disciplinary committee. And to the large extent, the reconciliation committee headed by the former military personnel, a leader of the party, member of the board of trustees, Olagunsi Oyola, has done a very extensive job. And as I speak to you today, the NWC are not divided. Because in political system, people will always be given the opportunity to sit in the negotiation table. But I can assure you that there is no major crisis in PDP. PDP is not in crisis. We only have different views of people with different philosophies and ideology, and they're articulating it. And then we are trying to harmonize it for them to see the bigger picture so that we can all align and face what is more germane over and above personal interest. So it's just the nature of politics. It has nothing to do with crisis. It has nothing to do with issues that borders on what the people call factions.
All right.
Has nothing to do
Well,
with that.
that's not the matter for today. I think the day we'll discuss party politics, we'll delve into that. But let's look at Nigeria, because the concern of all political parties is to deliver dividends of the democracy to the people. APC took over power from PDP years ago, and that those APC are arguing that the PDP mismanaged this country, the resources of this country, and they are the ones that have put the country where we are today. That APC are trying to, take Nigeria to a better place. They're trying to fix all of the errors that your party created in this country. Do you share in that motive?
Well, I can understand that you are a journalist, but the fact that you are a journalist does not also underscore the fact that you are living in Nigeria. The economic situation we are facing right now, what do you feel about it? Do you understand? When we want to talk about party or economic matter, essentially, with all due respect, I want us to take it out of the political context. Because if you're beginning to discuss it from the political context, the validity of what we want to express, people will just look at it from a very biased perspective. But we are talking of reality here. What is government?
They said you borrow more.
1 minute. What is government? What is the primary function of government? Number one, Politics 101 stated clearly that the primary function of government is the welfare of the people. I repeat, the welfare of the people. So ultimately, whatever you are doing as a government or in government that does not capture this major, very pivotal point to articulate at a policy direction that will lead to the overall interest of the people, or to better or to improve the standard of living of the people, then whatsoever you are doing there does not apply. The argument between PDP or APC government, the people can feel it. Even Buhari administration that we so much criticize, I could remember vividly, we were buying fuel for 200 naira. And at that time, people were wailing. Today, what is the cost of a liter of fuel? The cost of a liter of fuel is 1,200, 1,300. Now is now speedily, acceleratingly going to 1,500.
Because of subsidy removal.
Now, let me ask you the question. Let us even assume the policy is about enhancing, the capacity or to improve the GDP of Nigeria by removing the fuel subsidy. All right, fine. It's a good policy, according to them.
Even your party has shown that policy.
Listen. Let us agree that it's a good policy. Now, the subsidy has been removed. Government is no longer spending money on subsidy. The question we need to ask this present administration, where is the extra money that they ought to have spent in the subsidy, because that money should be apparently be reflected in the federal allocation that goes to the states and local government annually. I expect to see, if you said, okay, I should bear the pains of, for instance, for the fuel remover, I should be able to see some genuine investment on social infrastructure. Go to the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Can you point any major capital project that is going on right now that the federal government has invested as a result of the fuel subsidy removal? So that means that the fuel subsidy is supposed to give us more money in the coffer. And therefore, that money in the coffer should also reach out to the local government and everything. What measure of development have we seen as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy? That's to tell you that the government of the day has no policy direction. They are confused. They don't know what to do. They don't know exactly what to do. They are overwhelmed by the humongous activities that, has to do with issue of governance in Nigeria. And the negative multiplier effect is that Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are living below poverty level. They cannot access healthcare system. They cannot access education. They cannot access, as I speak to you now, the northern part of Nigeria, for over apparently more than a week now, they are in darkness. That means that the economic situation in that part of the region has gone into comatose. So you cannot, it's not something to compare. There is no comparison there.
Honorable.
So if you're trying to compare this administration, you are trying to insult Nigerians. You're trying to insult the sensibility of Nigerians, which of course I won't be part of it, George.
Because this, when you look at all of these factors, the government said we do not even have enough, and we can't continue to borrow. Probably that may be the reasons why they have increased allocation to state, but they have not done better in those infrastructural development. Do you share in that they can't borrow again because we can't borrow? We do not have the capacity to borrow. Our crude oil was sold out by past government. They mismanaged resources of PDP by borrowing more and so to subsidize fuel. Because that's the argument. They said that New Party borrowed more to subsidize fuel, and that the reason we cannot continue with that practice. It's about the practice.
For the past 9 years or more, PDP is not in power, with all due respect. The government of APC has literally and practically run this country for the past 10 years or more or less. Right? If I will put it that way. The point is, 10 years, or let me say 9 years, going to 10 years, is enough time for Nigerians to even know the policy direction in the first place. What, in my opinion, I see this government is doing, they are playing with the sensitivity or the sensibility of the Nigerian people.
I did not show you.
There is nothing to show for it. There is absolutely nothing.
Reducing cost of governance and asking that we'll merge some certain ministries together, seeing how they can share politics from people and all of those concerns.
Hold on. This is not about speaking homage vocabulary. No. When something is working, the first place you're going to see the reflection of what is working is in the life of the people. You can't continue to be speaking English and telling the Nigerian populace that you meant well, while the people are dying on a daily basis.
Does it look people are frustrated?
People are dying of diseases.
Does it look that people are frustrating the effort of government? Because by all indications they've seen from Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, they will tell you GDP is going and all of those statistics they have quoted and inflations and all of those development. But just as you shared, that it looks that it's not a reality. Are there people, or is it that people are just trying to frustrate the government?
Look, the government is in charge. It is not, there is no system that can frustrate the government in power. The people follow the directions and the directive and the policy of government. On May 29th, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came to the fore, his first pronouncement was the removal of fuel subsidy. And the moment he removed that fuel subsidy, even though it wasn't captured in the 2023 budget, as the case may be, there is a direct connection between government pronouncement and what happens directly in the market. Do you understand what I'm saying? The moment the fuel subsidy was removed, the next thing that followed was the cost of food in the market. The next thing that followed is the cost of rent. The next thing that followed is the cost of, the healthcare infrastructures and all the activities that borders on people's well-being. The next thing that follows is cost on education. The next thing that follows is the cost on transportation. The next thing that follows, do you understand what I'm saying? So that tells you that any person who must be in government must understand the terrain, must understand the different geopolitical zones and the economic situation of the country.
It transformed
because if Mr. President had really engaged with people, if he had embarked on a wide consultation before he made that pronouncement, consulted the people in the north, consulted the people in the south, for you to actually understand the terrain. I really thought that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with his experience, as a party man or his experience in the politicals, he would have understood the country very well. Go to the north today, go to Kano, go to Katsina, go to Kaduna, go to Kebbi, go to Borno, go to Adamawa, go to Taraba. People are suffering. People can't feed. So what kind of policy, what kind of government are you running? The government is not about you. The government is about the people. And that is why democracy is a majoritarian government. So therefore, you should be sensitive enough to understand that when the people are clamoring and fighting, it is left for you to now think twice and understand that this thing is not sustainable and find a palpable solution that can ameliorate the suffering of the people. Because what I'm telling you right now, this policy is not sustainable, and the president is insensitive to understand that Nigerians cannot cope in this present situation. It's an affront to the people of Nigeria. It's a sad one. Even the people who are in the APC, they cannot attest to the fact that this administration has done well politically and economically. It's a sham.
The facts are clear that due to the resultant, petrol price and increase, and the fact that the corruption in the sector probably was the push factor of the president to already make that pronouncement. That those are feels and shares, just as every other presidential candidate, that yes, indeed, there is a corruption in that sector. Now, he has tried as much as possible to gather people, the economic team, in order for him to see how he can actually implement his own economic agenda. Do you feel that is the people that are surrounding the president? Because when you look at Lagos, he has over time during his campaign pointed Lagos. I did that in Lagos. I transformed, I pushed GDP of Lagos from this to that and all of that. So many Nigerians feel, oh yes, he's an experienced man and a leader of the APC and all of this concern. It looks more that the broader perspective and the challenges of he's confronting today is the fact that the people he hired to do the job probably are not going towards the right direction. It looks that he has a good intentions.
No, listen. I don't want to believe that. I refuse to believe that. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with all due respect, the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has a first-class information of what is happening on daily basis. He has both security reports, economic report. There is absolutely nothing that is going on in the country today that he does not have first-hand information of what is transpiring or what is happening. Let me tell you, if you don't know, every government, the priority of every government is to see that you help the local manufacturing industry to grow. Just a few days ago, I was flipping through the internet and I saw a video of Aliko Dangote, a man who painstakingly built one of the best refineries in the world. The refinery is not in Jamaica. The refinery is not in Ghana. The refinery is not in South Africa. The refinery is not in UK. The refinery is inside the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Federal Republic of Nigeria is known as a country that has the highest deposit of crude oil in the world, probably fifth in the world. A man who painstakingly used his own resources to build a refinery. He has deposits of millions of PMS in his depot. We have an NNPC who, of course, because of their obnoxious tendencies, refused. They came up with some crass, way of trying to manipulate the system and refused to patronize a man who, of course, in a larger context of everything, he is a Nigeria and he has this thing in his storage. And we have a system or a kind of arrangement between the power that be, not to patronize it, but not to patronize his commodity. Because some of them, because they are also in the same chain of business and are beneficiaries of the loot and the corruptions of going outside the country to import the fuel, they don't mind, they don't care, they don't even bother about the welfare or what the average man is feeling. Theirs, because they came up with this capitalist mentality. Whatever you need to do, if people need to die for them to be rich, so be it. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that is not apparently the nature of governance. It's far from it. So, of course, there is a great disconnection between those in power and the administration and management.
Yeah, sorry, I understand the pains. The president over time, all his broadcasts said, I understand the pains. This decision, I understand they are painful route to follow. Can we please give him some more time to fix this issue? Are you doubting that there is no way to this? Because it's not just about this issue, it's about Nigerians whose daily life is at stake ahead of these policies.
It doesn't take the president anything to change the economic situation of Nigeria. We haven't gone that bad yet. It's just a genuine, a deliberate, and a truthful.
How do you explain that a president of the country will want to reduce, when he looks at the protests of August and
Let me tell you
continued failure of
the
crisis?
There are things he knows. There are things that people in government knows. There are things you and I know. Even if you cannot say it on air, that doesn't mean that the president is not aware of what is happening. And that doesn't mean that the president does not have the right solution to the problem. It's a deliberate case of telling you that you can go to hell. Or probably, let me even put it in or maybe there is some influence, or let me say an external influence. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I can tell you that
They have a solution. They have a solution to the challenges.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his kitchen cabinet has the solution to ameliorate the suffering of Nigerian people. I can tell you for a fact. If they want to do it, if they are deliberate and sincere to want to deal with this issue, I can tell you that between now and 3 months' time, this issue of hardship can actually be curtailed.
All right. Honorable, let me take you to these issues because we've seen the president, having to see how he can introduce regional development by, merging some ministries together and seeing how they can create that to advance development within the regions. Because we've seen that just as there's a disconnection, he had facilitated local government autonomy, but it looks that the governors, what we are seeing from different states would not in any way give light to the local government autonomy. Would the regional development commissions solve the situations and develop many of our regions? Because it looks that the president is aware that the country is too big and I need to see how I can seek, a grassroots solution to the problems.
Well, you see, number one, even though I overheard some major high empowered stakeholders in the Niger Delta complaining about the integrations of the Regional Development Commission. Personally, in my opinion, I'm an advocate of one Nigeria. And therefore, I am really being careful not to, dabble or to speak about anything that will essentially lead to the integration of this country. I want to believe, in my opinion, that the president meant well. That Regional Development Commission that they merged together probably is to bring unity into the country, in my own view. Because number one, when we have Niger Delta Commission, we have Northeast Commission, we have Northwest Commission, in a way, we are systematically trying to disintegrate the country along regional line. So if the president in his wisdom felt that this policy can actually bring about more integration to also create the atmosphere or environment where we can have, the same pace of development within the region. Therefore, it's a thing of, a good development. But my own concern there is that how genuine, how sincere will they go about this whole agenda?
Implementation.
Number one, in terms of allocating the resources to the region that produces literally the highest, in the Federation COFA. So there will always be an imbalance. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yes, integrating it is not the problem, but you're going to create the strategic, implementation pattern so much so that the goose that lays the golden egg will have a fair share of whatever they are bringing to the table. So that this issue of trying to make it look as if is going to be an equal distributions or allocation pattern, I think, in my own opinion, it may not augur with a lot of people or a lot of stakeholders. But in the eyes of the unity of the country, bringing integrations and ensuring that we work together as a one united country, I think it's really not a bad policy to criticize.
Oh, yes. Just before we wrap it up, he has reshuffled the cabinet because they were outcried that some of the ministers are underperforming and all of those directions. He has run an inclusive government. He has brought even your party member, even from ABGA, to the cabinet to see how he can run. Would that show the right direction for some of this implementation of his renewed up agenda?
Well, let me say this. It is not about, Nigerians are not concerned about whether you're bringing new people or exiting the old ones. What is more paramount to Nigerians is access to the basics of human existence. Access to food, access to clothes, access to shelter. At least the ability to navigate your daily activities should at least be brought to a level where all Nigerians can afford. It is okay for him to change his cabinet. I'm not perturbed about that. But if the changing of the cabinet or bringing APC or ABGA or ANPP or Labour Party into the fore, as long as it's not going to translate into enhancing the welfare of Nigeria, all of those things are rhetorics, all of it are stories, and as far as I'm concerned, Nigerians are not interested.
Oh, but I understand that you share the sentiment that Nigeria must work, because if it doesn't work, the people that even your party is trying to rule will be at stake, and that's the reason we're having the conversation that our government must work for the betterment of Nigeria.
It has to work.
Thanks so much for being part of our show tonight and giving us insight on that perspective. Hello, everyone. We'll now turn our attention to the crisis right here in Rivers State. A whole lot of concern ahead of Governor Fubara. He has gone to appeal the judgment from the Federal High Court yesterday, stopping the allocation to Rivers State. After this break, we'll dive into that issues on the program. Let's stay with us.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of